Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Hello. Welcome back to Fertility Village Live today. I'm so glad you can join us for another week. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Caley, and today we are talking to some really strong fertility warriors have one thing in common, PCOS, otherwise known as polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a mouthful. But thank you so much for joining, Tanya, Amanda, and Samantha. We're so happy to have you here. We wanted to start off and just get a sense of what your story is. So how were you diagnosed with PCOS? And tell us a little bit about how you got here. Maybe we'll start with Samantha.
Okay. Hi. So when I found out that I had PCOS, I was about 18 or 19 years old. And it happened after actually had gotten pregnant and had an abortion because I was way too young. We all know that's a whole different topic. And then afterwards, I had my period and everything seemed fine. And then about 5 months later, it stopped. And it had stopped for about a year or so. And I started gaining weight, getting a lot of facial hair and other hair everywhere else. And I started going, okay, there's a problem. And I actually talked to my mom, and she was the one that really encouraged me to seek medical help if I was going on. And then I got told what was going on. I had to have blood work done and ultrasounds done. And then they started talking to me about what it was. And at first it was mostly, well, it's just because you're too large and you need to lose weight. And there was no real communication about how to deal with it. Just that you have it, good luck. Chances of you having kids are 0 to none. And that's really how it started and dealing with it ever since.
Wow, that's an unfortunate way to get started with your,
Yeah. It was not a fun time, and I kind of used it as I guess I don't want kids then. And to this day, I don't know if I had ever wanted kids, or if it was just because of PCOS. Now, I am very fortunate. I have had a child, and naturally, which thank God. But
they were wrong.
They were wrong. It was one of those things that I kind of had to convince myself I never wanted one. And I mean, I'm still not a big fan of kids. Kids are great with their parents. I'm the fun aunt. I'm good being the fun aunt. And then I had mine, and I honestly wouldn't change her for the world.
I think that's how
I feel like we have some interesting stories to delve into with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Who wants to share next? Amanda, do you want to share your story next?
Sure. So I was diagnosed with PCOS back in, I have all the dates written out because I know I'll be going through a lot of them, but I was diagnosed back in January 2023. And that was after a year of trying to conceive naturally, and being unsuccessful. And so my doctor started sending me for tests to see what could possibly be the issue. And at that point, after looking at ultrasounds, they were able to see that I had cysts in my ovaries and some other symptoms that kind of aligned with a PCOS diagnosis, which included, I believe it was like high androgen level or something like that. I think it really started becoming evident in my body though, way before my diagnosis. So over the pandemic around 2020, I really started to gain a lot more weight. So I must have gained over the period of maybe 3 years around like 40 to 50 pounds. And so my body really changed in a short amount of time. I was experiencing really bad fatigue. And so no energy to do the things that I wanted to do, and bad hormonal acne, and what else? Yeah, just wasn't feeling like myself anymore. And so although when I got my diagnosis, I was pretty devastated and stressed out and scared and unsure of what the future would look like as somebody who wanted to become a parent. But over time was able to figure out how to adjust my lifestyle to feel closer to myself.
That's great. We're going to get into those lifestyle things in a little bit, because those are big things. And again, I feel the same way, the weight gain and the fatigue, that's like sure signs, right? Especially when I call it falling off the wagon of that lifestyle. It just hits you so hard. But there's such big signs that most people say, well, it's just, you're overweight. You put the weight on. That's the reason. And it's not. So yeah, that's so common, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tanya, how about you?
Well, I mean, in true fashion, my story is also different than both Amanda and Samantha's, because that's what happens with PCOS. I actually figured out that what I had was PCOS because my older sister went in to get a cyst removed, and she got diagnosed with PCOS. And I said, usually if she has something, I have it too, because we're very close in age and just obviously genetically. So I looked into it. I talked to my doctor. It actually explained a lot of things that we were handling as separate symptoms. So I used to get really bad cystic acne, and I used to get, or I still have really bad, my hair falls out really bad. I can't remember what the word is for it, but all of these things we've been taking as separate things turned out to be PCOS. And I got the diagnosis because of my sister's diagnosis. And I got the diagnosis probably 6 or 7 years before I started my fertility journey. So I went into my fertility journey already knowing that I had this struggle to face, and that this was going to be something that was going to pose a bit of a challenge for us.
That's rough. Like Samantha said, right? It kind of like makes you question like what it is in life that you really want. Is that diagnosis defining you, or are you going to like power through, right? Yeah, that's every story is different. So I'm glad all three of you are on the panel tonight. And again, I'll put in my little tidbits too, because I'm there right there with you. But it just shows like how
Sarah, I was gonna say, do you want to like give a little, not to put you on the spot, but like
sure.
So tidbit of your background too.
So my PCOS has never been fully confirmed, but it's like highly suspected through my naturopath and through a fertility doctor. But it wasn't until my second round of IVF and I was interviewing doctors and clinics for my second journey that the doctor said, you have classic signs of PCOS. I don't know why no one said this to you before, and started sending me again to a naturopath, check, blood glucose levels, seeing if there's any insulin resistance there. Again, I have a lot of the signs, the like lovely little hair growth, and acne likes to live right here, which is so annoying. And again, the weight gain is a constant battle for me. Again, right now I feel like I'm off the wagon and I'm tired all the time, and it's just awful. So that's how I came across my diagnosis. And again, I've lived those lifestyles and things like that. So I'm excited to dive in with everybody here, because again, everybody's story is unique and different, and hopefully our PCOS watchers out there can relate. We did talk a little bit about those first signs and symptoms you noticed. Is there any other signs and symptoms that you guys noticed that like made you seek help? And what was that help? Was it naturopath? Was it fertility doctor? Was it your GP? Like, where did you go for that help?
So for me, I was my medical doctor, just family doctor. And that's when this test started. He's like, let's do blood work. Let's get the ultrasound. And they found full of cysts. And then like, oh, well, and then your hormone levels are high and low where they shouldn't be. So my testosterone was through the roof, which they're like, well, that explains why you get the hair growth and they're everywhere. And, that could be why you're a little bit more aggressive sometimes. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's about it. I never really sought any other doctor at that point in time, because again, they weren't really, well, there's nothing we can do. It's good luck. Here's, just taking a higher estrogen birth control pill. I'm like, well, yeah, at the time, because the side effects from it are awful. especially with the higher estrogen. You just kind of get, I've personally found that I actually got more tired taking higher estrogen levels. And it was just trying to get out of bed in the morning. I was like, do I have to? And it's just been a constant battle since, to be honest.
Yeah, hormones
What
are
about
big.
you, Amanda?
For me, it was my medical doctor who began the investigative work. But Tanya, you reminded me, my sister also has PCOS. And so I kind of had an idea that this was possibly going to be my diagnosis too. And other symptoms I had that I forgot to mention, irregular periods, as well as insulin resistance and trouble losing weight. And so after my medical doctor, like family doctor, diagnosed me, I went to a naturopath within a month. And the naturopath I went to was a fertility PCOS naturopath. So she also lives with PCOS, and she was able to go through my blood work and actually explain everything to me, which I found super helpful. And it helped me prepare for my fertility journey because I ended up having to do IVF. So was on the wait list for like a year. And during that entire time, that's when I really changed my lifestyle to give myself the best shot out of my fertility journey.
I find the naturopaths are so good at explaining to you, especially the ones that are specialized in the fertility and PCOS. Like, yeah, if you look at your results, it says a normal range. But when you're looking at something like PCOS in terms of fertility, it's actually not in normal range. That is not the number we want to see. So it's really good. I find naturopaths are really good with those readings, right? Tanya, what did you think? Have you had the similar?
Yeah, mine was a fairly similar. Like I said, I went to my doctor and I said, I think I have PCOS. And she was also my sister's doctor at the time. So she goes, probably. And then we started investigating. And I didn't really do anything except deal with the symptoms as they came for the first few years. So she sent me to see a dermatologist about the hair and the acne. And we put me on the high estrogen birth control to try to tamp down the testosterone, and then I didn't start seeing a naturopath till just a few years ago, and I wasn't seeing her originally for PCOS. I was seeing her for like other things, so it was just kind of a side benefit that we also started dealing with my PCOS, and she suggested inositol, and I started those kinds of things, but it was very much my GP that started the whole process for me.
So a few of you have mentioned your fertility journey and coming at it from very different lenses, but how was the emotional response that you had when you heard that news of you have PCOS and this could affect your fertility? How did you feel?
Well, at first for me, I didn't care because I was young. I was still, when I got my diagnosis, I mean, I'm almost 40 now, and I was 18, as I said, 18 or 19 when I got my diagnosis. So I was really not caring. I was like, I got time. If it's something I really want to do, if it's something that I find myself into it later in life, I got time. No big deal. It's who cares. And that's kind of how it was presented to me at the time because I was so young. My GP, the OBGYN, they're just like, well, it's fine. You're young, don't worry about it right now. And I probably should have been worrying about it a lot sooner than I was to try and get balanced out. As I said, I don't know if my thoughts and feelings were not that I didn't want kids. And I mean, I kind of went through I really don't want kids. And as I said, I don't know if that diagnosis really colored that or not. I have no idea. As I said, I'm not a big fan of kids for the most part, especially some of the ones growing up now. That's not really their fault, but so I wasn't concerned at the time. And I was
such
like,
a different angle than we normally hear.
I'm assuming most people and most women that are joining these groups are like, I really want to get pregnant and I'm having difficulties doing it. And I feel for you. And if I really do. And I mean, I know some of Sarah's journey. I know her from teenagers. We used to work together. So I've kind of followed along with her and really happy with some of the progress she's made with things and, yay. But I didn't care. which it sounds awful. And I know it does, especially with many of you that are struggling and wanted kids. But I kind of looked at it like a blessing. And then came the, for a long time, a really long time, I thought I was being punished because I had an abortion. And it took a long time for me to understand that there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing wrong with the decision that I made for myself at that time. And that this wasn't a punishment. It just happened. And it sucks no matter which way it's coming from. But it took a really long time. I got really depressed because I couldn't get past I shouldn't have done what I did. I'm in trouble now. Something happened. And it took until my mid to late 20s, probably just before I got pregnant, that I was getting over it. And even still to this day, at sometimes when, we fall off the wagon, or I start noticing certain symptoms again. I'm actually going through a cycle right now where I have no period, and I haven't had one for about 4 or 5 months. Every once in a while, I'm like, am I being put? No, if I was, I wouldn't have my beautiful daughter. She wouldn't be 10 years old in grade 5 and smartest, sweetest girl you could ever have.
And you're not the only one to say that, for sure, Sam. Actually, there's I've heard a lot of people in our groups have said similar things, that we've done things when we're teenagers. And it comes from, we were talking about this today on our flight, is about education around our bodies. Like children, teenagers, pubescent girls and boys should be learning about these things so that they can think about those things. And they might be hard choices. Like you're not making a decision when you're 15, 12, if you want kids or not, but you are having to make choices about your body that, or at least knowing about your body so that you can make choices to feel good, right? And so that you don't have those same thoughts and things like that, because not your fault at all. There's never punishment around it, that's for sure. But we all do things when we're teenagers, and our ideas of life as a teenager are different from those
totally different.
Are different from those in our late 30s, right? Like life changes. So, and we have to adapt to that, and our brains change too. So thank you for sharing that, Samantha. Absolutely.
No problem.
Amanda or Tanya, do you have anything to add to those feelings of when you got that diagnosis?
I kind of mentioned earlier about feeling really overwhelmed and sad and stressed out. I also felt a bit of shame, like it was my fault that I had PCOS, that I led myself into this diagnosis because of my poor eating habits and lack of exercise and that sort of thing. At the same time of getting diagnosed with PCOS, I was also told I had prediabetes. And so it just felt like a really stressful time for me, especially being in the thick of a fertility journey. And it took me a good year to be comfortable with sharing that I had PCOS with others. But since then, I feel like it's a part of me now. I don't hold that same shame. And so, and I feel like it forced me to learn more about how to be my healthier self. And so it feels now, like looking back, like a blessing in disguise, because I don't know if I would have changed my life as much as I did if I hadn't got that news.
Anything to add, Tanya?
Interesting how much internalized shame is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been lucky in a lot of ways, because nobody has ever told me you're going to have trouble getting pregnant. It was, my whole experience was very different. My doctor's fantastic. He's wonderful. He's exactly what you would hope for in a doctor. He said, you're gonna have some different challenges to get pregnant, and you might need more support to get pregnant, but that there's no reason I shouldn't be able to get pregnant. Mm-hmm. And that's been my experience so far. I should be able to get pregnant. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get pregnant. And it's just managing and trying to figure out the symptoms. And instead of shame, it actually felt a little validating, for lack of a better word. I felt like it's not me. You know, I'm not just lazy and that's why I'm fat. I'm not just, you know, whatever X and therefore Y. There's a reason, there's something that is outside of my control that is causing these things, which gives me, in a strange way, control, because it's like I can let go of that shame and that regret and just deal with the situation as it comes.
Yeah, because it's not there's no cure for PCOS, right? We can manage symptoms, right? But there's no cure. So it's something that's with us, and it is what it is. We're just born with it, right? And you touched on it a little bit about accessing fertility care and finding medical support. Tanya, do you feel like there was any challenges there?
The challenges there didn't come from the PCOS specifically, but from the other things that PCOS causes. I am currently on the waiting lists for IVF, but I'm also on a pretty intense weight loss journey to try to get to the BMI that I need to be at in order to go through IVF. So I'm on a GLP-1, like Ozempic, to try to help me lose the weight and help me manage my insulin resistance and my hunger cues and all of those other things that come along with the PCOS, so that I can take that next step and hopefully get lucky with the IVF process.
Did anybody of you feel like misunderstood by your healthcare providers? Like that you wanted them to like better understand PCOS? Again, Amanda said she went to like a specialist naturopath. So there's definitely some understanding there, especially when your rock star lady doctor knows what you're going through. I always love that. But yeah, was there any other like misunderstandings? Again, from male, I always find it's from male doctors that aren't in the fertility world necessarily. But sometimes those GPs. I saw Samantha nodding.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I have been very fortunate with most of my family doctors have been male, oddly enough, but they come from a time where they were just bred properly. I don't even know what to call it, but they listened, which I found was really helpful. So my actual family doctor or general practitioner they were fantastic. And my current one actually has gotten me to a new OBGYN that specializes in PCOS, which changes everything again. And we're looking at different stuff, but up until and other than those two specific doctors, you know, when at a time I didn't have a family doctor and I had to go to walk-in clinics or things like that, it was, you're just fat. You need to lose weight. It's all that. That's your problem. Or, you know, well, are you sure you're actually having problems? I've been questioned on, well, you know, when I was with my father's daughter still, we went to the doctor and we had a checkup for her and me and him all at the same time. And it was a lot of, is that really how she's feeling? Is she really having those problems? Like I was questioned, like, did I actually know what I was talking about? And at the time I'd gone through a health program. I'm a massage therapist. And so I knew some of these things, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I'm a healthcare professional, my dude. I know what I'm talking about at this point. I've been living with this at that point. I've been living it with for 10, 15 years. And I have talked to people about it. I did some research, and again, as I said, I'm coming from a completely different angle, as in I didn't care for a little while, and having those doctors then just blame all of these symptoms that I knew were being caused from the PCOS. Now, was it bad lifestyle choices? Was it something? Of course it was. Those will impact. I mean, that's one of the things my current doctor discussed. Yes, being overweight does not help PCOS. You're more likely to have PCOS if you're overweight. It will make the symptoms that much worse. However, it is not the cause of PCOS to start. It is a symptom of it, and then the overweight then exacerbates the PCOS. And then the PCOS, then it's a nasty cycle that somewhere has to break. And being told, well, whatever, didn't help. And I guess at the time, I needed somebody to care as well as me, because I was in that mood where I'm like, well, if it's not affecting my lifestyle and if I don't plan on having kids, I don't have a period. You know, I didn't have to spend the money on the, products and worry about cramping and all that stuff. Little did I know that it was actually doing more harm to me in the background without dealing with those things at that point in time. So it took time to get there, and it really does. And sometimes you just have to say to the medical professionals until you find one that is willing to look at you as, it sounds silly to say it this way, but looking at you as a whole person and not just the result of one thing.
It's definitely a
Can I just
cycle.
ask as a follow-up? Several of you have mentioned this, and I don't have a background in PCOS. It's genetic, correct? Because Tanya, you said you have a sister, I think, that has it. Amanda, you said you have a sibling who has it. So it's genetic, hereditary.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
it's not
that
necessarily,
no.
But there is anecdotally, I don't think there's been enough research on it to say one way or the other, but it's one of those things that you do tend to find passes through families. I think actually one of the previous guests that was on talked about how it's actually higher in certain ethnic communities. Mm-hmm. So if your family's from Asia, you have a higher chance of having it. My father's from the Philippines, so I had a higher chance of having it.
I mean, in my family, I'm the only one.
Genetic. Oh, interesting.
It's not necessarily, again, currently what I was told was, it just happens. You got the luck of the draw with it. There's no indicators that it is genetic. You are more likely to see it in sisters, mothers, grandmothers in the same family. Mm-hmm. But that's not because necessarily of genetics. It's because you're often living the same lifestyles. You're in the same areas. You're in the same places. You have the same environmental factors affecting you. But again, they don't delve into it much. There's not enough research.
Why is it like that with every woman's condition?
Because women don't matter.
Yeah. There's never enough research in women's health. It's always a vicious circle about being fat is our problem because it is what it is. And yeah, we get that a lot. We hear that a lot in the fertility community as well, that it's, oh, you're not getting pregnant because you're fat. That's not it. That's not it at all. So frustrating. So it's a constant, again, I'm really glad Sam pointed that out to us. Yeah, nobody's fault here, guys. Nobody's fault.
Exactly.
And I know these two had said, Tanya and Amanda said that, their sisters have it. I'm the only one in my family. My mother doesn't have it and is not overweight. My sister doesn't have it, is not overweight. My grandmother didn't have it. My cousin, my female cousin, they're all fine. Yeah. I'm the only one. Now, am I one of the few people that is overweight female-wise in my family? Unfortunately, yes, I am. I take after my father. That being said, whether that was the leading cause or result of, they don't know. And that's part of the problem, especially with women's issues, is our hormones are so different than a man's. And primarily, medical care was reserved for the wealthy. And we're going back years now, guys. Was reserved for the wealthy. And more attention was paid to men's health because they were running the world. And they were typically the ones that were studying to be doctors. So women were lowly at the time. So that's why we're only just starting to really catch up. And we're nowhere near. We think that we're so advanced, especially in this part of the world. Advanced in our healthcare and our treatment of women and all that wonderful stuff, and we're not. We're literally
if a man had it, we'd have figured out the reason.
Why
We
do you
always
think
talk
there's
about that
female
with
birth
periods,
control
right?
and not
If a man
male?
had a period, there would be no cramps. They would have
Exactly.
fixed that a long time ago.
Anyway,
think
sorry to
also-
lead us down this rabbit hole.
I think also it attests to women's strength. We
Yeah.
go through this stuff as, and you guys call us fertility warriors. We go through this stuff silently, bearing the burdens, and just dealing with it. We get, part of my language, we get shit done regardless of the situation because we have to.
Absolutely. I'm an endometriosis girl, and I was told, like, it's not normal for your periods to be this horrific, right? You shouldn't just be like dealing with it. I'm like, oh, I just thought I should shut up.
I thought that was life. We were always told that's it, right?
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
We have some
So
viewer questions.
Oh, do you?
Sorry.
Okay,
Do
go
you want to get our viewer questions, Kaylee, or do you want me to grab it? I want to get to those
Yeah.
viewer questions. They're so important.
No, that's important.
Yeah. So our viewers asking, like, what is the status of your PCOS nowadays? Are you managing it? She says in remission. I wouldn't say in remission. I say it's more like managed. Is it better? And what worked for you? What didn't work for you? Can you guys share? I think that last bit is definitely really important. What's working and what isn't working. And again, all our journeys are different. So we're probably going to get a bunch of different answers.
For me, honestly, it was, I don't know, to be honest. It's been there because there's been no thing that for me that's been a trigger for it. I honestly don't know what exactly has worked for me. I've tried to eat healthier, but I have a 10-year-old that doesn't want to eat all the time. She doesn't want to eat the nice healthy meals. So, here we come, McDonald's. Or getting on trying different birth controls at the time when I was taking them really helped. And figuring out which ones I had side effects with and which ones I didn't. And I hate taking medications, as I hate doing it. I take more than I need to at this point. It drives me nuts. And then honestly, as I said, not giving up on looking for a medical professional that is going to take you seriously. And as I said, sometimes you just have to say F you and move on to the next one until somebody will, and not give up on yourself with it. That I think was the really big thing, was not giving up on myself, and saying, you know what, I can do better. I can be better. I can feel better even with this condition. So mine personally, no, mine is not in remission. As we said, it doesn't really happen. Mine still fluctuates a lot. I'll go through periods where I'm actually totally fine. Periods are regular, no issues there. And then, as I said, right now I'm in a period where I haven't had one in 4 or 5 months. Why all of a sudden? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I know I'll be trying. I've already been prescribed Spira Cola something or other. I don't know. I forget the name, but it's Spira something. It smells like mint. It smells really good. That is kind of like a water pill, but it's also supposed to help with some of the controls of that, because I didn't want to be on birth control pills. The only thing is, it's not something, if you're planning on getting pregnant, that you can be taking. So if you're planning on doing that, don't go for that one. But it will help kind of level you out in a certain way, along with something else. So you don't want to be just taking one thing. It's usually going to be multiple things that you have to take and or do. You can't rely on, and that's something I see in my practice myself, you can't rely on one thing to help you. You have to look at the whole thing.
Sounds like we'll get some different answers maybe from Tanya and Amanda, because you are on fertility journeys. What has your experience been like? Where are you at now, and what's been helping?
So I can go first. So since getting diagnosed with PCOS, I had to completely change my life. And at first I felt really lost, but I went on a big learning journey. And so I've read a ton of books that kind of showed me ways I could address my PCOS symptoms, including the weight gain that I had experienced. And so in the next like year and a half, I just I started doing more weight training. So I was weight training 3 times a week. I did daily cardio, so anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour of just casual biking. I really tried to maintain low, like nothing that was going to spike my cortisol extremely. So very easygoing biking, so nothing crazy. I gave up coffee, alcohol, weed, mostly because it triggered binge eating for me. I started a food diary because I wanted to remember how I felt after eating different types of food. Um, I took photos of me in different clothes so that I could see what like was like how my body was changing over the weeks, because I struggle with body dysmorphia, and so I don't see the progress I make sometimes, and that feels very discouraging. And so those photos saved me on this journey. I also started doing intermittent fasting. So I practice 16-9, so no eating for 16 hours and then eating within that 9-hour window. So no breakfast basically. And I also explored 3-day fast, which sound crazy, but they have a lot of scientific benefits. I won't get into that because I'm not a medical expert, but I did that, and that also was a game changer for me. I also took on a keto diet the first 6 months, but then changed it to just clean eating. And I would say that was like the majority of all that I did. And through all those changes, I lost 50 pounds. And I regulated my period, and I also reversed my pre-diabetes.
That's amazing, Amanda. You worked
Thank
so
you.
hard. You're like,
That's
you
so
are a
much.
warrior, because that's
Yeah.
so much stuff. Like when I did it, my naturopath would throw little things at a time at me, because if she had like said all that and take this supplement and all those things, I would have been like, pulling my hair out, right? So she was really good, and she's like, okay, let's just try intermittent fasting and eat a cup of berries. Like that's what I want to do. And then the next time I started, okay, so this time we're going to add in this little thing. Like, I don't want you to eat carbs except just dinner. You can only have carbs at dinner, like have some starch or something, but try to like low carb during the day. I was like, okay, I can do that. Those little things. Right.
Yeah.
And then when you list it like you did, right, I did the same thing. Okay. Then I was going to the gym every day for 6 days a week doing those things. And then you like list them off and you're like, look at all these things I did. And no wonder I lost 50 pounds and I'm no longer pre-diabetic. Like, yay, that's amazing. But like, yeah, it seems like a lot of things, but you got to do them slowly. I don't know about you. I had to do them slowly. It
100%.
wasn't all at once, right?
Yeah, very little. I did everything in steps. So I did not start with 3 days a week doing weight training, for example. I was doing basically rehab because I injured my knee. So I had to have knee surgery in the mix of all of that. But yeah, definitely baby steps throughout that journey. And I really think it helped me have a successful IVF experience. I had a good, successful egg retrieval and successful frozen embryo transfer. And so I'm currently pregnant right now. And so I feel like really grateful to have been able to do all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And those baby steps. It's not all at once. For those watching us, again, we're not medical professionals, but these are the things you do with a medical professional in baby steps, and they can be successful. That's amazing, Amanda. Such big congratulations, and for all those tips and everything. How about you, Tanya? How are you feeling about things?
I took all the medicine. I'm like, I cannot do this myself. I've never been able to diet successfully. Intermittent fasting turned me into an absolute monster. Nobody wanted to be around me because I was just nasty.
Same.
So I'm not a good person if I don't eat. I'm just hangry is not a good look for me. So I started with inositol. I'm still taking inositol. I'm also taking metformin, which I can't say enough good things about for me. It actually grew back my hair in spots that I was told no hair would grow back, which is awesome because I just remembered it's alopecia that I deal with. Because I deal with spots that go, like, I have spots that, like, my hair falls out completely. And it's to the point where during the pandemic, I actually, like, chopped my hair real short, like, real short, like a pixie cut. Because I was just like, I have these big bald spots and I can't do anything with them. So I'm just going to chop it all off. But I've been able to grow my hair back, and That's all the metformin. And then obviously, like I said, I'm on a GLP-1 to support my weight loss journey. I am down 28 pounds now, which is humongous for me. And I have another 30 or so to go before I can get back onto the fertility cycles. But all the medicine, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And I was like, yes, give me all of the support that is possible. All of the supplements that I can take to help me. And like Amanda, I weight train. I try to weight train at least 3 times a week, but I usually only get there twice a week. But weight training has been a huge thing, as well for my confidence and my mental health has been huge for. Because all of this can be a lot. It can be very stressful. It's a lot to think about. All of the medications you're trying to take. All of the choices you're trying to make. You can't go back to your usual things that you were doing to try to make yourself feel better, like eating that giant bowl of pasta.
So good
Now I have to I've had to heal my relationship with food, and I've healed my relationship with movement, and I do strength training, and I feel strong, and I feel powerful, and I joke all the time that I could beat up my husband if I wanted to. It's been great for me in so many ways. Can't say enough good things about metformin and about weight training. Those 2 things have just really changed my life.
And it matters.
I love hearing all these positive stories.
The positive, and again, for me, it was seeing those results. And it's so bad that we again, are going back to relating it to weight, which is terrible, right? I feel like it's been ingrained in us. But then when we get to, again, we see those results and we feel so good, right? It's so good to feel those results and feel good about ourselves. And even if it's a pound here, or you notice those stairs weren't so hard, or do you know what I mean? Those little things.
Or my engagement ring, my engagement ring is sliding with my finger now instead of being an indent in my finger. That was a huge one for me.
Right? I know I was told that. I mean, as much as you said that you were relating it back to weight, and as much as it sucks that we are, that is actually one of the biggest things that can affect PCOS. Unfortunately, the problem with that is it makes it really hard to lose all that weight. And being told, oh, all you need to do is that, and we'll just go exercise, go do this. I mean, I, like these 2, have done intermittent fasting. I unfortunately do not exercise as much as I should, but that's due to severe injuries in both my spine and my knees. And just don't be mean to yourself is all I've got to say.
Oh yeah, we always say be kind, take the time you need.
Yeah.
Take breaks, do what you can do. There's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong with anybody in our community, in the PCOS community, in the fertility community, on the journey. There's nothing wrong with anybody. It's just life, that's for sure.
Well, from the outside of PCOS, just hearing everything that you have all done, amazing. That's a lot of work you've all put in. That's really impressive. Can we talk about your support systems quickly? Where have you felt really supported by family, friends, spouses?
Nowhere. I didn't have anybody. But again, that's because my journey's been different, right? My journey started when I was young, and it wasn't as widely talked about or known or anything like that. And then I just kind of cocooned myself with it. I don't want kids. It's fine. No big deal. And I didn't really have a group like this. I didn't have people to talk to. It wasn't something, I had no problem talking about it. None whatsoever. And I mean, and when I sought medical attention for it, I've had a couple of cyst bursts, and there was no judgment when that happened. But there wasn't really anybody to talk to about it, to be okay, so is this normal? Should I be concerned? When should I really go and see somebody? So I'm so happy this type of thing is kind of a thing now, because as I said, there wasn't any of that for me. And it was hard. Because again, as I've already said, I felt like something was wrong with me for the first little while. And it took me changing my own mindset, which took really going through and saying, you know what? This doesn't define me. this is a part of me, but it is not who I am. That got me through.
Yeah. What about you, Tanya?
So even though my sister also has PCOS, her journey has been so very, very different in this. So she hasn't necessarily been the best person for me to be able to talk to these things about, because she's not living the same life I am.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend is just an absolute goddess. She's just been there for me at everything without even knowing that she needed to be there for me. She was there for me. I have a really great naturopath. It was Carrie, who was on last week. She's wonderful. And my partner. I know he's sitting in the next room listening to me right now, so I'm going to be a little bit gentle with what I say, but he's been really supportive of like listening to me. And I swear the guy must be so sick of me talking about my food. I swear I feel like I talk about nothing else in this journey, but he has been so supportive with every step of it, and helping me just be kind to myself because you have those days where you eat the whole chocolate bar, or you eat a whole bag of chips, and he's been very good at being supportive and kind to me when I do those things, and just reminding me that tomorrow's another day and we can start again.
Shout out to the partners who know how to deal with the hangry. Big time.
That too.
Yeah, and PCOS, like we say, it's hard to lose weight and things like that, but we don't talk about like those mad cravings that come with it, the cravings for salt or the cravings for sugar that come with PCOS, because our hormones are out of whack. And things like metformin. We had a question come in: does anybody else use something other than metformin because she feels it hurts her stomach? But yeah,
so just jumping in on that, it also hurt my stomach when I first started, and I switched from taking it in the morning to taking it before I go to bed, and that has made a huge difference because it doesn't upset my stomach anymore. And I've also tried berberine, but I just found it too financially expensive for me to keep up with.
I will say, just knowing, what metformin, it really depends on why you're taking the metformin, right? Like if you're taking it because you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, there are other medications out there that handle that type of stuff differently. And that's something that unfortunately you need to be talking to your GP about, or your, endocrinologist or whoever's dealing with that part of things. If you're taking it for another reason, again, you want to be talking to that specialist about it, which I know is a really, lame answer to that. But again, it's going to depend on why you take it. There are other medications out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go. Metformin, yeah.
Sarah, I think you're cutting out.
Medications for sure. Oh no! Uh-oh.
You're on a
Maybe
slight
Amanda
delay
can
there.
answer the question. No! Bad hotel.
Oh, I think it caught up.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good? Okay. I'm sorry, guys. That would be the bad hotel Wi-Fi. What I was going to say is metformin's kind of an easy one because it is linked to PCOS, and it's an easy one for doctors. But yeah, definitely talk to your GP, naturopath, fertility doctor, whoever you're in contact with, and maybe they can recommend something that doesn't hurt your tummy, because we don't want that.
I will say, it also depends on the type of metformin you're taking and the dosage level. So metformin and what we generally are going to get from the pharmacy is not true metformin. And this is with pretty much all medications. You get a generic brand versus the original brand. And the formulas, while similar, are very different at the same time. And how they connect to and are used by your body actually alters just a little bit, which can cause worse side effects. Just knowing this as a side note, my dad actually has type 2 diabetes, and he was on metformin. And he's not going to appreciate me putting this out there, but when he was, and then put on a higher dose, and he would always had, again, the stomach pains, and he's on it for diabetes. When he went to a higher dose, and he went from I want to say it's German, but I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on that. the German thing, and then when it became a generic, when he ended up switching to the generic, he had to stop taking it because stomach pain, and he needed to know where the bathroom was at all times on his hour-and-a-half drive from his home to work in Toronto.
Oh, that's
And
too
there was a
bad.
couple
This is one
times
of
he
those
didn't.
controversial things. Sometimes the generics are fun. Sometimes people find they have
Exactly.
trouble.
Talk to
We're
your
not medical
GP.
professionals,
Exactly.
but yeah.
Not medical experts. Talk to your GP. Talk to your pharmacist. Even the pharmacist can recommend the different ones, right? If they're recommending
Yeah.
a certain drug, they can recommend others. So, like, yeah, talk to your GP. Talk to your pharmacist. That's for sure. Because we're starting to run out of time here. We're going to have to skip a couple of questions, but you guys have answered pretty much all of them, just not in order, and that's okay. It's great. What advice would you give to someone newly diagnosed with PCOS who, again, might be worried about their fertility, what that means to them? Hopefully, again, it's maybe teenagers that have learned early on about their PCOS. Like what, Amanda, what kind of advice would you give that new person who's newly diagnosed? Where should they start?
I would say my biggest advice would be to see what's out there in terms of literature and just learn as much as possible and what's going on in your body and ways you can balance your hormone health. For example, I think balancing my hormone health was the best way to have addressed my symptoms specifically. And just to know and be reminded that you can live a bright and vibrant life with PCOS as long as you know what works for you. And sometimes that involves sacrifices, but you can still be happy after the sacrifices. I remember feeling like I had to grieve my old life, enjoying like pizza, like, I don't know, like 3 times a week or whatever I was doing at the time, and going out for drinks with friends. And every time I hang out with friends, it's always around food. So I was sad that that was all going to change, but instead I was able to hang out with friends and do different things that supported my health, like being out in nature, canoeing, and doing that sort of thing. So just know that you can still have a happy and exciting life. It just will look different now, and to read as much as possible because there's so many good things out there. I specifically loved a lot of books by Jason Fung. He's a doctor from Toronto, and he's like a leading person in the fasting community, and fasting worked for me. And but yeah, so if you're looking for a place to start, that's where I started, and I think it helped jumpstart my learning journey.
Love that. Love that. Does anybody
What
else
about
have any
you,
good
Tanya?
advice?
Take a breath, because it's not the end of the world. It's thousands of people live with this every single day. It's manageable. It's not necessarily a death knell when it comes to your fertility. It maybe just means a little bit more planning. And find the people who will root for you. Like, you're finding a good naturopath is like, I know some people think naturopaths are a little bit woo-woo and whatever, but honestly, finding my naturopath marked a real shift in my relationship with my body and my relationship with food and my relationship with my hormones and all of those other things. And all of that has helped my management of PCOS. Like, it's not getting a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. It's getting an ADHD diagnosis. Like, it's definitely manageable. It's not going to drastically change your life unless you choose for it to. Many people live without managing their symptoms at all. They just live their life with PCOS. So decide what you want to do. Take that breath, find your support, and don't be afraid.
Awesome advice. I love it. How about you, Samantha? Anything to add?
I mean, these ladies have really summed it up, to be honest. And I've said it already. Don't think you are defined by it. That, as you said, take the breath. Don't look down on yourself because it's a diagnosis you've got. It's a good thing you've got the diagnosis because you know what's going on and you can plan for it. You're going to have times where no matter the support you have, no matter the goals you've met you're gonna feel like crap. You're going to feel awful. And that's okay. Feel the feelings. Let yourself be aware of what it is, but don't let it be all that it is and all that you are, because you're so much more than that. And my hope is for everybody that is on that fertility journey to go there and for that it works out for them. But if it doesn't, there are so many other avenues for you. It doesn't have to be, it's not a one fix all solution. And if one thing doesn't work, move to the next and the next and the next. You will find, it's very much like growing up. You will find your people, you will find your thing. And it's, as you said, it's not the end.
Yep, absolutely.
I love this. You guys have given, I think, a lot of people so much hope with this messaging. Amanda, the mention of research I love, because we're so about advocacy, self-advocating at Oasis. I think that's so important, and just finding your inner strength to keep going with this and knowing that it's not the end of the world, I think is so important. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for sharing with us today. It's been so great. We appreciate your candor and you sharing your stories. For those watching, remember our next support group happens on Monday, September 22nd in person and virtually. And the men's group is September 23rd virtually. And you can sign up at oasisfsn.com. Anything I missed, Sarah?
Nope, just you can catch this live event on all of our socials afterwards, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, on our podcast channel. Follow us there if you want to contact any of these ladies. I'm sure they can have some good advice. And I think that's it from us. Yeah, so we'll see you next time. And until then, take care. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.